Good evening, friends, fans, family, and followers, to the newest episode of Last Call Life Experiences of a Crow. I am Freighter Crow from the Coterie of Samil Arcana Cult Order, Celestial Oddities Radio and all of its shows, and Celestial Oddities Paraseekers Paranormal Research Group. I want to thank you for tuning in this evening. Make sure you click the like, share, follow, and subscribe buttons on whatever platform you're tuning in from. Helps move us up the podcast community rankings, keeps you in the loop with new episodes as they air, gives you unfiltered access to our past archives of all the different shows and episodes we do, and keeps you in the loop with everything as it comes out on the new shows. So sorry I'm out of breath. I had to do something real quick as the intro was coming on, and I had to run upstairs and run downstairs in about 9 seconds flat, and I feel like I'm going to die now. So we are back with another episode. If you missed any of our previous episodes so far this season of Last Call, make sure you go back and check them out. We've talked about a lot of fun stories, a lot of deep content, and thought-provoking ideas. And tonight, I am happy to say that this will be the first interview we've done on Last Call. Not a foreigner to interviews in general, as most of my shows have always been interview based or discussion based with someone else on the show, but this specific show, Last Call, has yet to have a guest until this evening. Now we have Sean Bowman of the Bump in the Night Society Paranormal Research Group, based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, premier paranormal group in Pittsburgh. They've made quite a name for themselves with releasing a lot of evidence-based documentaries, not only online, but they've been fortunate enough to be able to release them in some movie theaters for limited showings. They have been at dozens and dozens of conventions, meeting the fans, meeting other investigators across the country, and are always just constantly at different locations, have had a lot of experiences. We've worked together in the past in different capacities, and it's going to be fun having them on the show tonight, shooting the breeze with one another and just catching up. So if you are watching out there and you would like to be a part of the show, you can leave us a comment from whatever platform you're tuning in from. We will see it here on my dashboard. I will be more than happy to throw it up on the screen, read it off. If you have any questions for our guest or for myself, throw them out there and we will be, happy to answer them. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and bring my friend Sean from Bump in the Night Society on the show. Welcome, Sean.
What's up, Ryder? How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Good.
Turning this light down a little bit. I'm like, hold on a second. There we go. I shouldn't be so bright. There we go. How's things going, brother?
Yeah, not too bad. Keeping busy. A lot of stuff coming up. A lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, you guys
got a big convention this weekend.
Oh, you have another big event coming up?
Yeah, this weekend we're going to be at Masonic Temple in Johnstown. Saturday and Sunday we're speaking at the event and doing a vendor table, hosting a vendor-only ghost hunt Saturday night too.
Okay, now is that the Masonic Lodge that you were recently at, or is this a different one?
It's the same one, yeah.
Same one. Why don't you tell the fans out there listening in a little bit about, getting in, being the first group ever to get to do an investigation at this lodge, kind of a little bit about your experiences. You don't have to go too much in depth because I know you guys are making a doc on that, but share with the fans out there a little bit about that. That's a pretty cool experience.
Well, originally, the temple put out like a thing, looking for a team to come investigate, open up to the public or whatever. And I inquired about it, and I actually found out that the guy I talked to was the guy from a year before who wanted us to come out and do their expo, because they had the expo last year. I didn't even realize it was the same person, but he brought us in, and we did an investigation, interviewed a couple of the Masons. We're going to do a couple interviews this weekend and release a full documentary. We're going to be speaking at it, talking about cryptids and paranormal, and then we're going to be releasing the trailer for the documentary for the public too.
Oh, so the actual trailer will be released this weekend while at the play. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting to be the first team to go to do that, because that lodge has been there for how long?
I'm not exactly sure how long. I forget what it is. I know it's been there for a long time, though. They used to be, back when the big flood happened in Johnstown, I think it was like 1898 or something. They used to be in the downtown. Building's still there, and you can read like the plaque on the building, and it talks about The top 2 floors, they had the survivors up there, and like the 2 floors below it were underwater. They have like the watermark line and everything. And I think that's the Oddfellows now that run that place, but they moved up to the Masonic Temple, which is up on the hill.
Huh. Okay. They took higher ground.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's pretty cool, man. I wish you luck on the event. Hope that it's a good turnout. And I think it's pretty cool that you got to, like I said, investigate there. And now you get to be speakers there, present your evidence, present your documentary, and just meet a lot of other people. So that's kind of a neat full circle event.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Now, as far as the documentary itself, is that going to be released to the public shortly afterwards, or do you have a specific date yet?
We did an evidence reveal with them a few weeks ago. Obviously, all the evidence isn't going to be put into the video because, Mikey, it was like a 2-hour evidence reveal.
Oh, yeah. I guess deep.
But yeah, we're going to edit it down probably to like an hour and a half. Hopefully put it out in the theater again, and also at the temple. Like, we're going to show it at the temple too. Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be done.
Awesome. Okay. Well, folks out there listening, make sure you check that out. Once it is released, they have a lot of great documentaries out there. As Sean said, Mikey spares no expense when it comes to make long documentaries. If you're used to like a 30-minute, 40-minute release, these guys don't do that. They do an hour and a half, 2 hours, or in the case of Discombobulated or what was it?
Discombobulated in the dark.
No, that was one of them too, but no, there was the Bel Air
in a town called Bay.
Yeah, it was like a 2 hour and 45-minute documentary. I'm like, Jesus, Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why, from the beginning, like that Bel Air video is kind of like more YouTube-ish. Now we have actual camera people working with us. You could tell I'll send you the trailer, and the trailer alone looks like movie quality compared to what we used to be doing.
Absolutely.
And Randall's going to be editing it, so it's not going to be 2-hour documentary. I always joke with Mikey, like, stop listening to the voices in your head. Just put the EVPs out there. That's where he be hearing all sorts of shit, and he puts way too much shit in the fucking thing.
He wants to get every single voice that's in it. I mean, that's admirable, but that's, you know what I mean? At a certain point, you can say, like, we get it. You know what I mean? Like, there's evidence there and we're getting it. We might have missed 10 throughout the documentary, but you still gave us 100. But no, Mikey wants to make sure 200 voices, there's 200 voices.
Well, a lot of it doesn't translate it really to the theater either. Like, if you have a pair of headphones on, it's different, but, you can't really hear it in the theater, some of the stuff.
Because some of it, you read the words on the screen, and it's just like, I look at it like, there's different, you've seen them before, like music videos where it plays different lyrics than the actual song, especially in the metal genre, where you're like, is that actually what they're saying? And it's not, but because you're reading it on the screen and it sounds similar, it makes you think that. So where it doesn't translate, like you said, is some of the stuff you can't actually physically hear. You heard something, you see the words, like, okay, was it that? Wasn't that? And it leaves a seed of doubt when you're watching it out loud. But with headphones on, you might actually hear the whisper and say, oh shit, I thought these guys were, jerking my chain, and it was there. It was just hidden.
Yeah.
I never heard it out loud because oftentimes they are hidden. So why don't you tell everybody out there, how the team came to be? I mean, obviously you and I have known each other for a while now, but for those that might be new to you, new to your team, tell everybody about how Bumping the Night Society came together, kind of what your mission is with the team, and, how things have gone over the last few years. You guys have just been at it.
Well, originally, we were part of Celestial Oddities. I met you. Well, we used to do music, so like that's how I know you. Met up one time, did the Celestial Oddities, for the first year, and then after, I think 2020 is when Bump of the Night formed. We've had people come and people go. Different iterations of the podcast we do, which actually we're in the works of redoing that again. Been doing conventions and investigations and mostly bigger properties, but we do residential stuff too. Spoke at numerous events. Just try to dip our hands in every little pot that we can, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to do it. You get out there and experience a lot. You learn a lot. Helps with further investigations. I steer clear a lot of, unless it's like alt type of emotional investigation where I something abnormal and it resonates with me that I need to help. I don't do a lot of residential anymore, only for the fact that most of the time it's complete wackos. And there's probably like
Yeah.
3 people right now that were like, shit, I was going to message them. But that's just my experience that time and time again, we've gone out and I've gone out with different people. I've been out there with Mike before. I've been out with Tom from my group on some of them. I've been out with Natasha, who's a part of our group, different times, different people. And time again, the common denominator was that like 10 minutes into being there, you realize this person is a complete fucking wacko.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I don't want to just go get in my car right away and leave because I want to be polite and, maybe there is something here and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And then you're there for like 2 hours and you're like, nope, they're just crazy. They're just absolutely crazy. Not to say that there isn't a spirit maybe there, but listening to more and more of the conversation of someone saying just outlandish things that, don't seem to be paranormal and seem to be paranoia. So that's why I started getting away from that. The bigger locations or private locations where maybe the person isn't involved. Hey, you can come to my property and investigate it, but like you're not coming to help me and heal me. That's where I like that part. Like, I want you to come help my family. It's like, yeah, I'm going to probably steer clear. But if you want me just to come and investigate your house and you get the fuck out, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I reached out to you about a residential case, which I still probably going to do that at some point. Me and Mikey were actually supposed to go there a few weeks ago. You probably know about that. It didn't end up happening because something, personal happened. But
shitstorm happened.
Yeah.
I remember you bringing it up to me. I don't remember the specifics off the top of my head. We could refresh each other at some point. But yeah, I've been asked on a lot. And like I said, I used to do a lot more. And then I just started to get away from them. There was the last couple I did were just bonkers. And I'm like, and for the people listening out there, I'm a gun carrier, always have been. So like, fucking right. If I'm coming to your house and I don't know you and I'm investigating your house, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Well, it doesn't matter anymore anyway, because I'm not doing it, but I don't want you to feel uncomfortable that I'm coming with a gun to your house, but absolutely coming with a gun to your house because I'm like, you're trying any fun with you, I'm dropping you. And the last couple times it felt like that, where I'm at these people's house and I'm like, they might try to kill us tonight. Like, this might be some fucking Children of the Corn shit. And yeah, I'm like, I'm just not going to put myself. It's just one of those things. I'm not going to put myself in that position anymore. It became to me very reminiscent of what battle rap became to me. I enjoyed it. I liked it. A part of me still wants to do it, but a part of me says no, because if I continue to do it, it's only a matter of time before I run across the wrong person and I'm dead. It's not really worth it to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know like the residential cases I've done or about to do also, they've always been somebody I like know or a person that knows the person. So it's not usually like some stranger. We have had some people hit us up that definitely had some issues going on. What's up, Goose? But like, for an instance, this one guy on Instagram was talking about being possessed by a jinn and like talking about hurting himself and hurting other people. And it's like, yeah, I'm not having nothing to do with that.
Well, and the thing is I mean, that's I think the key difference. You're working with people or people close to who you know. I've gone out to just complete absolute strangers that don't know anybody that I know, and I'm just at their house, sometimes with people, sometimes alone, and I'm fucking driving an hour and a half away to just some wacko's house. And the thing that kind of makes it different for me is that usually I'm not just getting, hey, my house is haunted, come check it out, or hey, there's a ghost and it's scaring me. I'm getting I believe I have some type of demon. I believe I have some type of dark entity. I believe, as you said, it's funny you mentioned jinn. I met a girl that came to me that I believe she does truly have something attached to her, 100%. But it was some shit that I didn't want to mess with. And she was like, I need your help. I need you to help me. And I was like, I kind of pulled my hands back from it and everything. She like reached her hand up, touched my hand. I pulled my hand. I'm like, no. You back the fuck off me. I can't help you. And she's like, what do you mean you help people? I'm like, not on this one, because whatever she had on, I could sense it. And it was all bad. So sometimes you got to know what you're dealing with. We got some different comments coming in here. I want to read them off. Ray said, "What's up? What's up, bros?" We got Jeff Taflin saying hi from the Paranormal Goat from Ohio. How you both doing? We're doing great, brother. Thank you for tuning in. We have Natasha saying, "Remember that little old lady who canceled on us last minute? I felt so bad for her. Now I don't feel real bad anymore for people." Hi, Sean. She said, that's one of the other things I've noticed. It really pisses me off is how many times, I'm sure it's happened to you guys, private investigation, personal investigation, you're getting ready, you're gearing up, you're changing your schedule around, everything's good to go. Day of, they cancel. It's always some emergency happen. Oh, I just came down with COVID, or a family member died, or I was in it's always some shit that sounds like really serious that you would pardon them for it, but you also know that they're absolutely full of shit.
Well, weren't you were supposed to be part of the Clarendon case, I think, weren't you? It was supposed to be like me, you, and Mikey. And that's what ended up happening. Is like last minute that lady canceled, and there was a lot of stuff about that place, like the person being buried under the porch and somebody being murdered in the backyard. This was all like true stuff. Like I found the articles about it, and that she canceled us last minute. I haven't heard from her since.
Yeah, and that was an important one. I felt like we were going to break some ground on that one, literally, and help solve an ancient case or an old case. And I was really excited to try to do that. But yeah, once again, they day of canceled, and that's probably like the 5th time that's happened to me. So that mixed in with psychos, it's just been kind of a bad taste. And it's like, you know what? Just as your group, my group goes to mainly notable locations. Every once in a while, we'll go to some freebie places that are like, nature places that are power packed. But I just can't do the personals anymore. We got some other comments coming in here, like the red hat.
Thanks, Goat.
Was once the groundskeeper at the Bel Air House in Ohio. The Bel Air House is a special place. I probably never be back to the Bel Air House again ever myself, but I've been there about 7-8 times. I've always had amazing adventures there, have had stuff that people know about, stuff people maybe don't know about, and stuff I can never talk about. But it's a cool place. There's definitely some weird, wild doorways in the building.
Yeah, we've been there a couple times together.
Absolutely. I think 2 or 3. Yeah. Amber says, hey, Amber, thank you for tuning in.
Hey, what's up?
Every single time. And I'm like, lies. Yeah, exactly. They're lying. I mean, maybe 1 out of 5 could be like, I'm with COVID or I was in a wreck. Okay, I believe you. But the other 4, I'm like, just fucking tell me you suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like, lie to me. There's one thing I can't stand is like, if you're gonna jerk my chain the whole way, you're gonna edge me. Well, I'm gonna use that because how many times I've joked about edging with you. You're gonna edge me the whole way up to the day of the fucking investigation, and then you're gonna feed me a bullshit lie. You might as well just let me down. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, we're not gonna have you out. We just wanted to edge you. We have Raul.
What's up, Raul?
I love bumping the nights. Tammy says good evening. Britt says hello. Hello, everyone. And I want to give a quick special shout out real quick to this young lady right here, Tammy. This beer is on you. Last night she was at my lecture at Little Shop of Lilith in Butler, and she gave me the beer money for tonight's show and said that she'd be tuning in and she wanted to take care of my alcohol consumption, and I appreciate that. So obviously you have the Masonic Lodge coming up. What about some of the past recent ones that you've done that have been pretty notable? Where have you been lately?
Well, we were at the Masonic Temple, just recently too, and then we were Grand Midway, which you were with me.
What a crazy place that place is.
Yeah, the whole vibe of that place is crazy in there.
It's a lot of energy, a lot of items.
I wish you could have came into the church, because when he used to own the church, like we had more activity at the church than we did at the hotel last time we were there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was at Bain Library with Sue, actually. Sue just said hello. What's up, Sue?
Yep. Sue's in the chat.
Yeah, we were just at Bain Library recently. Did an investigation there, a public one. That was pretty cool. What's that?
I said that place looks pretty cool. I seen that a video that you guys did a little while back, where the ball rolled, the cat ball across the table. I know people were giving you shit on it because they're stupid. No one knows anything. Yeah. And they're like, I know this ball. It's a remote controlled cat ball. And I'm like, I got like 15 of them in the back room, and not one of them is remote controlled. I don't know. smoking.
And the thing is, too, it didn't just like roll across the table, like rolled, stopped. Like it was moving on its own. It was crazy.
You know what, though? It's one of those things that comes with the territory. The more people you gain, the more exposure you get, the more people are just going to talk shit. But usually it's only ever on the internet, right? Like when you go to a convention, and now that I say it, it's going to happen to you guys, but it's rare you're going to have someone come up to you to a convention and just be like, you're fucking full of it, man. You know what I mean? It's always on the internet. It's a bunch of internet trolls, just like every other facet of life. People talk shit when they're behind a keyboard. They're keyboard warriors, but in real life, they shut the fuck up and they don't say anything.
Oh, I know. I mean, you know about the personal stuff going on with me, and there's been a couple people running their mouths, but yeah, they'll say it on the computer, won't say it to me in person. I've seen these people in person. So
Oh, yeah. I've been there many times where someone said the wildest stuff online, and then I'm in an event or somewhere and they're there and they won't even look at me. They have their eyes looking at the ground. They're standing on the other side of the room, and I'm like, wow, you were really fucking tough 2 weeks ago, right?
Exactly.
That actually is a victory to me when I see that happening, because I'm like, you're a pussy. I know you're a pussy. The rest of the world doesn't have to know. We know, and that's all that matters.
Well, the thing is, too, is I'm not watching your shit. You're watching my shit. So fuck you. You know?
Right there. And we got a comment here. It says, I was once there waiting on a team for my friend. I was sitting on the couch and it was cold all around my legs, and the candle came on by itself. And when the cold went away, the candle went out. And he's speaking of the Bel Air Demon House. Yeah, I've actually had a case where a candle was lit. It wasn't paranormal investigation. It was during an occult ritual where candles actually lit on their own. And I know that sounds phantasmagorical to a lot of people. It's the only time this has ever happened in hundreds and hundreds of rituals. But candles actually, without being lit, never were lit, just poof, and became lit. And I'm like, oh, that's some shit I've never seen before. It was pretty cool.
Well, that time with Bel Air with us or whatever, the candle went out like during that whole.
They made a very high staticky sound, like a.
Yeah.
And then rose, and then puffed out, and demons shot out of people, and little girls were laughing. It was a fucking wild time. I'm into this. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
Just said I was just talking about edging. That's what's up, Britt.
Raider's always talking about it. You should tell that story when we were at Trans Allegheny in the restaurant or whatever.
Okay, so folks, I was going through a period of edging and a period of seed retention. So seed retentions, when you choose to not expel the dragon force and the seed, you can still, we go everywhere with the show, so I hold nothing back. There's still the orgasm without the expulsion of anything. You withhold the seed, the dragon fire. And I was going through a heavy period of holding in the seed, but to make it worse, if that wasn't worse enough, I edged daily to the point of getting there and then stop dead, because my theory was to build up the dragon fire to really fucking be cranked with energy when I did my rituals. The problem with that is at that point you start to go insane, because you're so worked up over a several week period or whatever that, like I was telling these guys at a dinner, right
in a restaurant.
Yeah, a little restaurant right before Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. I was like, man, I've been like looking at weird things like brooms and stuff. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I would fuck it if I could. I'm like, howl and laugh at it. I mean, it was to that point. So I've definitely given myself a good edge over the years. Let's see what else we got here.
That place we stayed in too, with that weird creepy dude or whatever. The Trans Allegheny. Remember that house we stayed in, the cabin or whatever? We all stayed upstairs.
That was peculiar. I've been to a lot of Airbnbs. Guys out there, you can let us know if this has ever happened to you. And I know it does happen, but it's only ever happened once. You normally stay at an Airbnb and it's just you or you and your party that you're with, your family, whatever. Well, this place was gorgeous. It was like a log cabin mansion on the top of a mountain with beautiful rolling hills and deer and forest. I mean, it was ideal. It was like picturesque, like a Bob Ross painting. But we're telling the guy, like, do we need to check in with you tomorrow before we leave? And like, how close are you to here? And he's like, oh no, I live here. And we're like, wait, what? He's like, I live here. You're staying in my house today. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, I have a whole other section of the building you guys stay in. We don't even interact with each other. And we're literally a whole party of paranormal investigators staying the night in this guy's house while he's a room away, locked off from us. But it was kind of peculiar. That's never happened. He was pretty
He
chill,
said that
though.
there was I think like a cemetery or a gravestone or something on the property too back in the woods, remember?
So he said that they started to build it. If you remember, it's pretty wild. He started to build a house. They didn't tell him about mine subsidence, and they gave him wrong information, and then the entire project sunk into the earth.
Mm.
And because of that, he got that settlement of like several $1 million. And he says he didn't work anymore. He built that mansion on top of this hill. But he said that there was a family way, way back that lived there on that land. And it's a family cemetery, but it's like fucking in the middle of nothing. And it was way back in that hills. And we all wanted, if you remember, wanted to go check it out. We just didn't have time.
Yeah.
But that would have been a cool one, just back in the forest, just this little tiny family cemetery off on its own.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the family cemetery, you ever been to Snyder Cemetery?
It sounds familiar. Snyder Cemetery. What area?
It's like Moraine State Park.
I might have been. I've done some things. I'm trying to remember if I was in a cemetery in Moraine. I know I've traveled through the woods in Moraine at night, just in the dead of night by myself before, which is fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean, you got to check that place out. Me, Mikey, Ryan, and Kat actually were there not that long. I've been there a couple times, but we were there at night, and yeah, the whole vibe. It's just creepy being there. Like, I'll go to a lot of places by myself, but I wouldn't want to be out at that place by myself at night.
Oh, see, that's what edges me spiritually.
It
gives me the spiritual edge. I know why I heard of it. I haven't been. Natasha just stop saying seed. She left a comment, says we go to Snyder's. I think I've heard her talking about it before because she's out that way. I have spent a good deal of time in Moraine State Park, wandering the woods. In fact, we shot that Bermuda Triangle of Pennsylvania with Daniel James of Paranormal Guys podcast out that way. And it was crazy. We were walking down in the forest in the middle of the night, and there must have been a body of water that we couldn't see in the forest. So like 10 minutes in, we awoke like 200 sleeping ducks or geese. I don't know which of the two. I think it was ducks. And they all started making noise, jumping and flapping their wings in the water at one time. So the woods were silent. And then it went to just this roar of wings and we're like, what the fuck is happening? About to get attacked by the cryptid duck creature.
Yeah, we had a lot of frogs out there last time we were there. You keep hearing the frogs out in the woods.
Okay. I don't think we came across any frogs. We did come across a hoot owl or just a regular barn owl, and it kept. It was crazy though. It was really going in. So obviously, you guys got the documentary coming out. You got some other investigations you're going to be doing. But what's the next big plan? What's your next location that you haven't done yet that you want to do or you already have planned to do that's going to be a big one for you?
Not really sure. I mean, we have a couple things coming up, but they're places that we've done before. I know there's a couple. I'm up in Slippery Rock right now, and I know there's a couple like in Ohio and that I've never been to. I'd like to check out, which isn't too far from where I'm at. But nothing really off the top of my head that I can think of.
You guys need to get out and suggest it. We're coming up. At some point, you guys need to get out to Bill Manor. It's a little bit of a phenomenal, man. It's a really unique location. I could do that one over and over again. It's just, I don't know, it's different. The feeling's different there. Very intelligent ghosts, crazy backstory. It's historical. The president, I forget which one. Natasha might be able to help me out. One of the ones no one knows of, though. He was like a president for like 3 years or something. And he's buried like a block away. There's like the original cabin that him and his wife lived in. It's definitely really interesting.
I think they were next to us at MadCon. I'm pretty sure that was them because we were just at MadCon last Saturday, and there was a haunted location right next to us. I think it might have been Bill Manor. Which
they go to his Adams events. They were at FairCon last year, so I think probably was a good chance it was them.
Okay, are they in Ohio or?
Yeah, they're in Ohio, but they're kind of deeper in Ohio. Like I know, don't quote me on this because they blur together. You know that. People are like, "How far is that one?" Like I don't fucking know. I've been to so many places. My brain's a melting pod. But I think that one was like 3 hours and 45 minutes away. So we're around in 4 hours from me. So I mean, it's kind of farther into Ohio.
Okay.
But it's a nice little adventure. We all like our adventures. At least I do. I mean, not only is the location fun, but I like the traveling there. I like the weird shit that we stop at along the way. And I like these little historic towns we go into. So like, you know, you have places like Bel Air and that are just kind of a shithole town. You know what I mean? Like they're not historic and they're just kind of a dump. And then but then like when you go into towns like Anchorage Mansion in Marietta, Ohio.
Yeah, Marietta's
every house is Victorian. Bill Manor is wild. That entire town, walking around, it's all these old Victorian mansions, and some of them look like truly mansions from like the 1700s. And you're looking around, and you're like, "Where the fuck am I right now? Like, what a strange place." I love those type of adventures.
I mean, I've been to Salem and I've been to New Orleans, and you know the history of those places and the buildings you see, and just everything, cemeteries and everything else is crazy. That's New Orleans is definitely on a much larger scale. Salem's kind of small, but
I haven't been to either. Ironically and surprisingly enough, I've never been to New Orleans and or Salem. That just has eluded me. I've had some things come up where I've been kind of offered to come down to New Orleans, but it just hasn't happened. Someday.
Yeah, I definitely recommend both of them. They're both really cool places.
Now, you guys did recently, I believe, an investigation in a cave, did you not?
Mine. Oh, actually, talking about that, we do have something coming up. You just reminded me. The Haunted Mine, which is Torrid Mine in Tarentum. We did an investigation there, and actually in October, they have their haunted house going on. So the one day, what the hell's the date? I think it's October 19th and 20th, I think. I'm not positive, but I think that's what the date is. The first day we're gonna have like a table and like a Q&A and a merch thing and all that. You know, Bumpy, our mascot, will be people can take pictures with him and stuff.
Okay.
And then the second day, which is a Sunday, we're actually going to be acting because, you know, well, me, Troy, Phil, we all came from Scare House, so we've always done the haunted house stuff too. So we're going to act for them. We're supposed to do an investigation in public, but it's not going to work during Halloween because Friday and Saturday thing runs till 11. We won't be able to get in there probably till 12 or later. And then on Sunday, it only runs till 9, but people got to work on Monday, so it won't work. So we're going to have something set up public-wise during the off-season for that.
That's pretty cool, though. How was it? I mean, so I've done different cave explorations and mine explorations before, just like with tours and things I've done privately, never anything in the paranormal sense. So, I mean, I would imagine it would be difficult in its own ways because of the fact of like echoing. Does that play a role into it?
Not really. I mean, it was more quiet than anything. Like, you know, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", and like between me and Randall, because Randall's over 6 foot, we had to duck the whole time. You wear helmets the whole time too, but I couldn't imagine working in something like that because I couldn't even probably like swing anything or something, you know. But it's so tight in there. Like the echoes ain't really that bad.
Good.
There was a couple areas we were in that were definitely interesting. In one area that we were in, they supposedly have seen something walk back and forth in that area. We didn't see anything that day. But another thing is, too, just being down there, they turn the lights off like you're in complete darkness because, you know, there's no light in that mine whatsoever. Which actually, I would love to go to Laurel Caverns and investigate there. I don't know if you've ever been there, but I remember like they do the whole lights off thing when you're in there, and it's so like creepy in there.
Yeah, I love caves, man. I have a big affinity to caves, physically, spiritually. I've been to several of them. One I think would be really cool is Penn's Cavern in Penn State area. Yeah, you got on a boat and go into the water and go out to it, and they shut off the lights when you're out in the middle of that, and it's just pitch black. And it's huge, and it's like an arena almost. And I would love to just kind of stop the boat turn the lights on, just sit out there for a little while, see if you
Yeah,
catch it, because it's very, very old. They have Native American artifacts that were found there that they think were hundreds of years old. That who knows how many people have been in those caves over the years. Someone discovered it 200 years ago. Well, no, because when he discovered it, there were already arrowheads there. So how many generations before that were using that cave? And that's very interesting.
Well, there was some cave. I don't remember where it's at, but I know it's like an Airbnb or whatever. Like you can stay the night there or whatever, which that'd be really cool. And it's supposed to be haunted too.
What's up, Cam?
What's up, Cam?
So I'm weird about the Airbnb thing. Like it can work out good. You have a lot of people that jump on that bandwagon. Like they buy a building, they own an Airbnb, they make up a spooky story, and they run out an Airbnb. And the thing is, you have people go there and it might not be haunted at all, but they're like, we got good shit. And it's like, did you though? I mean, but there are some legit ones. There was one I wanted to do that I heard is legit, and I guess they don't do it now. It was in North Huntington area. Okay. It was a bed and breakfast. And the people live there. You can just rent a room and they stay there. And I heard it was actually very good. I don't remember who I met, but I met someone that says, oh, we've stayed there a couple of times. It might have been Sue and Ken or someone. And they said, no, there's a definite activity there, but I guess they stopped doing it. Now they just live there full time and they don't rent it out, but you can come across those. But I just always worry about like, who's just making up shit. And that's a problem. And I know that a lot of people don't want to ruffle feathers, but I was born to ruffle feathers. And there's people in the paranormal who own locations who make up backstories that are bullshit and absolutely false. And they've been proven to be false in every possible fucking way, as per what's called history. And, people get away with this and they become big names. And, that fucking just rubs me the wrong way. So that's why I look at Airbnbs and I'm like,
Well, I know there's a property. I'm not going to say who it is, but they wrote a book about the place. It was on a TV show back in the day. It's in Pittsburgh, and he told this story. I'm trying to think how to word this without like giving away what I'm talking about.
I think I probably already know what you're talking about without saying it, because there's a famous story in Pittsburgh about a house, and it's fucking very fantastical.
There's like this doctor and abortions and all this other bullshit. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, and Moloch came and blood dripped down from the hallways, and Moloch from the Bible was there, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man, you're going all in.
Well, I know somebody that personally knows the family, and first off, he said the family's freaking nuts. And there was some truth to the story, but he said where that doctor's office and stuff wasn't that actual house, and it was a different house on the street. Another thing is I've talked to this person before that owns a place, and he made all this money off of it, but now.
Quick side note: I have a comment came up. Larimer Mansion is what Ken's referring to as the Airbnb that is haunted, that used to do it, that doesn't. The reason I stopped because we're talking about a place we said we weren't going to name it, and then the comment came across the screen. I don't want people to think that Larimer Mansion.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
It is not. I just wanted to make that correction. So
I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about.
I do, absolutely.
But yeah, like I said, he knew the family, and complete bullshit according to what I've heard. And then he was renting the place out as like a regular Airbnb, and I had a friend who actually tried getting in there and was like, oh, I want to investigate and all that. And as soon as he found out that she was trying to come in and do that, he shut it down. It was like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with that and this and that. And like, okay, that's like what you became famous for. But now that you have people like actually going to try to come in and investigate, like you don't want people calling you on your bullshit,
Yeah, he's trying to stick to the story that the priest came and expelled the spirits out, and now it's safe, and he doesn't want anybody to come in and do anything that could bring them back. It was an extreme case where, if to be believed, it would be one of the very rarities that happened. Crucifixes bending on the wall, literally the sun seeing the crucifix bend and I'm like, not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying.
I have the book. I've read the book, and yeah,
I'm like, there's a good chance of bullshit, and the walls were bleeding, and all kind of the doctor's office, as you said. And I'm like, it was a great way to make yourself famous. And like I said, and I won't say any names either, but there is another individual that's made themselves quite known off of absolute falsehoods in every possible direction. And that was a point for me that I had to just say, you know what, I cut all ties and fuck this. But you know, I guess for the, you know, some people that's something they're willing to do. It's, you know, what level will you go to become known? I don't give a fuck about being known, so I don't need to go to any levels. But there's some people that would do anything, you know, just to
Well, it
make
kind
it.
of reminds me of like a ripoff of like the Amityville Horror or something. That's what it kind of sounds like.
What that one specifically, yeah, was really like, I watched a lot of horror movies to get ideas of what this story is I'm going to tell people.
Like, if your shit's real, let me come in and investigate it then.
And the thing is like, if you would have said a name that no one would know demonic wise, that may be more believable to me. When you say a name like Moloch, who most people know and have at least heard of, or if they don't know and they do a quick search and they find, wait a second, Molech or Moloch, oh my God, the deity of child sacrifice, and there was a doctor committing abortions here, and it's like, all right, you're fucking full of it, man. Like, you're just making up this Hollywood story. But like I said, people will go to great lengths to become famous. I mean, look at the P. Diddy thing going on right now. How many of those people would have done anything just to become famous, right?
Get that baby oil for the edging.
On this complete side note, this motherfucker had 1,000 bottles of baby oil and 784 dildos. People didn't see the second part. People know about the baby oil.
Yeah.
People don't know about the toys yet. Some people do. They literally confiscated 784 dildos from this dude's house.
That's fucking crazy.
I'm like, 78 dildos would be an insane amount. 784 is unfucking fathomable. That's like a swimming pool.
A room full of dildos. It's got like a ball pit of dildos.
Jump in and see what happens. That's fucking wild to me, man. Like, what a fucking wackadoodle, man. The funny thing is about this is, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon now because you have all these people coming forward saying, well, there was a time at his party back then. So it's like, now that he's in jail, a lot of people, you know, some victims feel safe, but then you also have a lot of people either adding to the story, making up stories, or they're just wanting their 15 minutes of fame. Once again, what we do for fame. But you could ask my wife. I said years and years ago about him, I never fucking liked him. I never liked Bad Boy. I never liked his organization. I always thought dude was a complete fucking weirdo. And I've been saying it for years and years. And like 4 years ago, I said to my wife, I was like, in the next couple years, this dude's going to take a wicked fall. I was like, you wait and see. And then like a year and a half ago, I said, oh, it's getting close. I can feel it. And then all kinds of shit came out with Cat Williams and all these other people starting to talk, and this happened, and I'm like, I fucking knew it was coming. I knew it. So I'm
even like Kanye or whatever. They're saying like some of Kanye's shit was actually true.
Well, and what's weird is a lot of these dudes that like started to speak out all went like weird. You know what I mean? Like, they talked about Old Dirty Bastard and how he actually had a beef with them, and shortly after that beef happened, he started saying real weird stuff about the CIA and cameras and things, and started acting all schizo, like maybe someone slipped something to him that made him go nuts. He died at 35. So, you know what I mean? Like, they're saying that his body count might be more than, you know, other big names. I don't want to say any politicians right now because I don't want to get nixed. But yeah, dude definitely was behind a lot of crazy wild stuff.
Well, the whole Tupac thing, they claim that he had to do that too, you know.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, to be honest with you, I think he took out Tupac and Biggie. Took out Biggie and got all those rights from his music signed over to him. That's what launched. There's some people that have the erroneous belief saying like, if it wasn't for Biggie, Puffy would have never even been known. And I'm like, no, Puffy was involved in the music scene for a bunch of other fucking reasons other than Biggie, but him getting those rights launched him to a different plateau. And then him, you know, before that, him taking out the Enemy, you know, people that were selling way more records than them, boosted his records. You know, and then you got Wu-Tang Clan, you know, as the only other really faction in New York that's really a threat to you, and then Old Dirty Bastard dies. I mean, a lot of things happen power move wise to make him an empire. But I have always had to wonder myself, like, when you look at billionaires, they don't make sense to me, man. Like, when you think of like really talented people or people who should have $1 billion, right? I don't think of P. Diddy. I don't, because he's fucking, his music sucks. You know, he made a lot of good business moves, I suppose, but like, eh. And then I think of Jay-Z, same thing. I've never been impressed by Jay-Z as a rapper. And people always like,
I agree.
He's top three. He's top three. I'm like, top three of what? What the fuck are you listening to?
Yeah,
exactly. He's a good rapper, but he's average. You think of Kanye West being a multi-billionaire, at least he was before he threw it all away, and I still don't get it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't understand how all these people are billionaires. And none of them are really that fucking good.
Yeah.
It's my own 2 cents. Let's get back. I agree. Merrick said, it's almost 3 a.m. here. Too tired to stay up to listen to any more, but I will watch the recording later. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your continued support. And let us know what you think. Tammy says, good night, Merrick. I swear you never sleep. No, this motherfucker's up all the time. It's that Buddhist lifestyle that Merrick lives. He's just, he sleeps like 2 hours a day. Sleep well. Yeah, P. Diddy's in trouble. Well, the thing is and I'm hoping they don't Epstein him before he can give us an actual list, because we never got a fucking Epstein list, you know, that was sufficient. Yeah. So I'm hoping that he drops some bombs. Like, I just want to see all of Hollywood be annihilated. And that's like a fucked up thing, because people are like, no, I don't want to hear that my favorite star is a pedophile. I'm like, name them all. Drop the fucking list. I don't watch movies or TV anyway. Let's bring it. Rhonda says, totally agree. They both suck. And that's what I'm saying. That's what's sketchy about it, is you have to be involved in some type of criminal conspiracy in racketeering, as they are, to be that rich. Because like I said, when I think of Jay-Z, there's like 5 songs I would say that were like hits, to me at least.
Yeah, somehow, like club-wise. Yeah, I agree.
You know, I'm like, he had a bunch of other good songs, but like 5 songs that were bangers. Puffy had like a couple that were, I guess, bangers. I never fucking liked his music, but
yeah, but never really by himself. Like, he had to have somebody with him.
Well, yeah, he was always with a group, and that's why he had that show, Making the Band or whatever. And
like, I don't think I can name like a Puff song by him by himself that was a hit. Like, he always had like Mace or Biggie, or even like the one song I actually like by him was off that Godzilla soundtrack, and you know, that "Come With Me" song, and it's like him and Jimmy Page is in it. So even that song, like, he wasn't really by himself, you know.
Yeah, and that's what's funny, and that's why I say he is a good businessman, because he was able to make a music career with no music career. You know what I mean? He was able to just get a bunch of big names.
Like, it kind of reminds me of like Lil Jon. Like, you know, Lil Jon just pretty much just says ad libs and just, you know, hops on other people's shit, but never really had his own hit.
I mean, that's another thing that you're just like, how did that actually happen in our lives? Like, this dude just came on the scene, was absolutely monstrous, and then just disappeared, but he made his money, did his thing off of ad libs. You know what I mean? He didn't really rap for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like the Yin Yang Twins. The Yin Yang Twins came out, they fucking exploded, and then they were gone. A few years later, they were some hits,
though. Yin Yang Twins had some hits, but yeah, they definitely.
Oh, they did have hits. My boy Jesse opened up for him in Katanning at that like 16 and under club, and I was like, damn, man, you guys have fallen from grace when you're known worldwide as the Yin Yang Twins, and a few years later you're playing a 16 and under club in Katanning, Pennsylvania. I'm like, just fucking call tonight. Drop the names, bitch, said Brittany. Absolutely, we're hoping to see a list. Thing is, we'll never get the list we want because people are paid. You know what I mean? But I think that there's definitely going to have to be some, because if there's somehow not a list presented again, there's going to be a massive uproar, I think, at this point.
Is Ken channeling his Lil Jon right there, I guess, with the what?
Yeah.
That shit on Chappelle show is fucking hilarious, though.
I think Chappelle makes a better Little John than Little John makes a Little John.
The best, though, is when he actually had Lil Jon on with him.
Yeah. Chappelle's the best. The only good thing in Hollywood is Keanu. Well, let's fucking hope he's not on the list, right? It was funny because the other day I seen a thing that blew my mind. Keanu Reeves is 60 years old.
That's crazy.
And I was thinking about that. And I'm like, he just did all those John Wick films. And I'm like, and he was kicking fucking ass in those films. And I'm like, he's 60? I'm like, I don't think I could do that shit now. I'm in my 30s.
Shit. Yeah, I mean, I'm 43, and he definitely looks a hell of a lot better than I do.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's kind of a unique soul, that one. Like, he, goes and sits on park benches by himself, doesn't have bodyguards, doesn't have anybody with him. He's just kind of a free spirit. Brittany says, I went against community guidelines. I'm not sure what that means, but please don't get that against me. Last time I went against community guidelines, they deleted me for a year and I couldn't come back. They fucked my business all up. But now let's get back into it. So, obviously for the people listening out there that whether they're familiar with you or not, you guys are everywhere. You're doing a lot of investigations, doing a lot of conventions, you're meeting a lot of people, getting a lot of opportunities. But let's talk about the meat. Let's talk about experiences. For you, give me your top couple experiences. It doesn't have to even be the most like scary or like holy shit moments, but just standout moments to you that said like that's special. I would say give me your top 3.
On an investigation or just in paranormal in general?
Just in paranormal.
Because I mean, obviously the scariest thing would have to be the possession, which obviously you were there for that. But I've had some other things that like meant something more to me when it came to like my family and stuff like that. Like both my parents are deceased. I was actually just telling this story today at work. The one lady I work with. When my mom was still alive, the House of the Rising Sun, that song, like there is a house in New Orleans and all that. That used to be my mom's ringtone. Okay. There's been a couple instances where one of the times we were leaving Hillview, and it came on the radio as soon as we left. We were talking about. Another time, actually for this convention coming up, they made a promo video for us back when we did the investigation. And originally, Jen sent them Dead South. That was supposed to be our song. Well, she didn't use that song. She used House of the Rising Sun. So that's kind of crazy that she like actually used that song that was my mom's ringtone, and no one knew about that other than me and Jen. There's been other things, like I said, with my parents, with my dad. He had a kidney transplant when he was alive, and it was on a October 13th, Friday the 13th, back in like, I don't know, 2004 or something. I don't remember the actual year, but that date has always been like something special to me. And that also was my daughter's due date was October 13th. And, but she wasn't born on that day, but that was her due date. But anyway, after the year after he died, I got a phone call from a number, and it was a voicemail, and I still have the voicemail on my phone, and it sounds like my dad talking. And my mom was still alive at the time. My brother obviously is still alive. I let them hear it. My daughter heard it. Like everybody, you can't tell what he's saying, but it sounds like my dad talking on this voicemail, and it's after he died. So like, that's crazy. Another experience with my mom too is after she passed, like towards the end, she wasn't doing very well. She was living with me, and she used to stay in this recliner in the living room, and like it was a week later or something. And I'd leave my bedroom and I'd go use the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I still like saw her sitting in a recliner after she died, like a week after. So like stuff like that doesn't have nothing to do with like the paranormal, like investigation stuff. But those things definitely have. One more thing actually with my dad that I just remember too. When we were in Gettysburg, we came back from Gettysburg, and I know a lot of people don't believe in ghost apps and all that, but I've had some crazy shit happen on ghost apps. This was I wasn't even really involved in the paranormal. Like we just went to Gettysburg and we came on the way back, and I was just messing around with a ghost app. And on the ghost app, we were talking about my dad, and across the ghost app came Bubba, and that's what my kids used to call him, was Bubba. So like all that shit's crazy. And I mean, could it be coincidental? Yeah, but that's a hell of a lot of coincidences,
I think ghost apps can. So I do believe that they get responses.
Mhm.
I believe that a lot of the responses are pre-programmed and part of the app, but I know that even myself, to back up yours experiences, there has been things that, yeah, on the app that just, they can't be just the app. There wouldn't
Well,
be
you know
any.
the whole story with Mikey that time at Greenville, right? I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
you've heard that story.
yeah, you've told me
Yeah.
that before too, and I mean, it's just those are the circumstances. I don't think that could. How would that be explained? You know what I mean?
Because I mean, it said toddler, and then it said his kid's name. I'm not gonna say his name. And then as this was going on, and his family members were with me because we were doing a public, and they're all freaking out because they know what his name is, and then it said toddler and this and that. So I had walkie talkies, and Mikey was in a different group. I walkie talkied Mikey, and as I was walkie talking, it said father. So like back to back to back things came across that, and it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the only way would be if the programs listening to us through our devices is much more complex than we realize. So like we know
Yeah,
that
but that's the thing though, is like a lot of them apps are free or like a couple bucks. Like, why would somebody put that much thought into something like that? And then like another thing is too, the whole argument with that is like, what's the difference between that? Especially like if you have it in airplane mode, like you're supposed to, like it shouldn't be picking up any of the internet or anything like that. But like an Ovilus, how's an Ovilus any different? It's the same type of thing,
I've heard some wild shit through an Ovilus before.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I think that there's a potential for some really good responses and them to use it. It's just like I said, you have to, just as a spirit box in general, you have to siphon out, because we can want to make things into something they aren't. And as long as we do our due diligence, then and if it means something, it means something. It's just like spirituality in general. I tell people that an experience that happens to you might mean something amazing, but it might mean nothing to anyone around you. Doesn't matter if it hits you in a way. It's not just a belief or a mental thing. When you feel it, when there's like no, something just happened. It doesn't matter if anybody else can explain it. Something just happened, and that's those moments. Just like you said, hearing your mom's song, it's odd, right? And you're like, I don't know, I feel like there's a reason. Those synchronicities will happen because it is how spirits talk to us, is through symbols and through things that we know that is how they talk to us. They can't use words all the time. So no, that's beautiful, man.
Well, that's like too, a lot of like Christians and that and say, oh, everything's a demon and this and that.
Yeah,
stuff like that happens. That's not a demon to me. Like, why that doesn't make sense,
It's a fear-based reaction, because and we won't get into the religious topic much, but as we talked about when you had me on that show with the panel of priests, hell was created by Christians. I mean, there's a date. We know when it happened. There wasn't a hell ever in history prior to a certain date, and we know when the council was that made that place. And it's a fear-based reaction, because the more you're afraid of your eternal damnation, the more you're going to be obedient to the cause of the mission, right? So making everything into a demon is par for the course for this specific religion, because they took old gods. I actually talked about this in my lecture last night. Let's look at someone like Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra, peaceful deity, and he was a god, Egyptian god of the sun. They took Amun-Ra and made him into Amemon, a hideous, horrible king of the demons. All these spirits were turned into demons who weren't demons. And it's just like ghosts. Ghosts are something that exists, and they're very much a part of our world. And spirits of all kinds of different natures are. Only a specific category is demons. And they're kind of rare. Even though they're plentiful, they're rare in most happenstances. But we see this belief system say that everything, your mother coming down and talking to you, it's not her, it's a demon. It's like, yeah, that's kind of cynical as fuck to believe that every time something tries to communicate with me, it's evil. And it's weird to believe that, like, if demons have so much power to be able to pretend to be a ghost and do all these things, wouldn't God have that power too and allow you to see your loved ones and let them interact? So it's just a weird concept. But I certainly do not believe in that, the whole everything is a demon fucking fuckery. We'll just call it fuckery. I don't believe in that. I got a comment here. I agree. Most is pre-programmed, but it is also electronic device that can be manipulated with energy. My thoughts anyway. And absolutely, that's really what it is they're manipulating the energy field of the device to come through and talk to you. One of the things, and I'm sure you guys are going to release anything on, and if not, that's okay. Are you going to be releasing anything on Grand Midway?
Probably. I don't know if it'll be a full thing, but I'm sure we'll release some type of video.
So, and the reason I mentioned that, I don't want to like really ruin anything for you guys, but so folks out there listening, we've had a very strange, and Ken and Sue are in the chat, Natasha's in there, Britt's in there, and they can attest to this. Something weird started happening.
Was it Dick Shark?
Yeah, Dick Shark. We can talk about Dick Shark for minutes. I think the people need to know. So the first time it ever happened, ironically, was at the Ross House in Bel Air, Ohio, which Natasha, Little Shop of Lilith, is throwing a public investigation for her patrons to come this weekend. I'll be helping out at. Britton and Natasha will be there. That was the first time a couple years ago, 2 years ago, that I had evangelical spirits come through and harass me through a spirit box. Didn't think much of it, and a bunch of time went by and it didn't happen again. But I had spirits coming through and they said, he is evil. He is the devil in flesh and all kinds of wild shit. And I just kind of, whatever, weird happenstance, right? Well, we were at Octagon House and we end up getting...
That place is locked, man.
Dude, it got fucking bonkers. We got like 2 hours of nonstop barraging me with Christian spirits. They were like,
yeah, you told me that.
They kept saying, find the light, find Jesus before it's too late. And I'm like, I'm cool, man. Have your own faith. I have mine. And they're like, sinner. Like, the way that they were intelligently answering me was unlike any session of Spirit Box I'd ever seen in my life, that anyone a part of my team or there had ever seen. They were taking DJ requests where literally Ken was like, play an old 90s hip-hop track. Boom. Yeah. Pop song came on. He's like, play me some old school hair metal. Boom. Hair metal came on. And we were like, what the fuck? So
that happened in the Canopy Room at Grand Midway, I remember.
Well, and
remember,
that's yeah, so at every investigation since Octagon House, this has happened to me now, where when I'm with my group or your group or any group and we turn on the Spirit Box, listeners, it doesn't only cycle through, it actually stops dead on a channel I've never seen in years of doing this. And it's always these spirits talking about Jesus and love and light and finding heaven. And I'm a sinner. I am the devil. I will burn. He is psycho. And then I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, they can watch it later. The one spirit came through and said, your beard's weird. Mama don't like it.
Yeah, there was some weird shit on there in general. Just some of the songs that were playing and how it was just like stopping. And yeah, the whole session was kind of weird.
And I don't know if it started at Ross, because Ross is the first time that kind of happened. But then I went on several investigations of none of that. And at Ross, it didn't stop. It was just regular ghost box answers, but evangelical sort. It was until Octagon House that we got full-blown stoppage and DJ requests. And I think it was, Natasha took notes. I think it was 4 pages of notes of Christian backing against me. They seems like everywhere I go, the spirits don't like me. Well, a certain type of spirits don't like me, and tend to think I'm evil of some sort. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'd be interested in going to Ross with you sometime, because I haven't really had a lot of activity at Ross.
We had the Whistler, not to be confused with the Diddler. We had the Whistler, and he did whistle. So like while we were sitting in the living room, or whatever room you want to call that, and we just heard like in the background, but we were all in the same room and we could hear that it was at the top of the steps up near that antique store door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, does anybody hear that? And that's, other people are like, yeah, we do hear that. A little bit later on, we're still doing a session, and you could hear someone right at the top of the steps whistling a tune. And we're like, oh shit, there's someone whistling right now, which that's not common. So we haven't gotten, I wouldn't say that we've gotten a ton there. Our one honorary member, Destiny. She's from Iowa. She's come to several investigations, and because she was willing to come out from Iowa, we gave her an honorary position. She's not really a part of the team, but when she wants to come, we let her come out because that's a ridiculous drive. And she showed up at Ross' house at like 2 a.m, and we went downstairs in the back end of the antique store, and we weren't getting much the whole night. And Destiny walked in and started a ghost box session, and something came through, and it said, "I'm hungry," in this crazy dark voice. And she said, "What is it you're hungry for?" And immediately this voice came through and says, "Humans." And it was like, I'm like, wow, that was fucking nothing for hours. And then right when she got there, "I am hungry. What are you hungry for?" "Humans." And that was it. But I'm like, that was really odd. And it was the same tone, same voice, first time all night. And it was not a normal voice. It was actually very, very dark. But I looked at that. We're in an antique store with pieces of furniture that came from 100 different homes. Because what they do at Ross is they do estate buyouts. When someone dies and their estate's being relinquished, they buy those pieces and then sell them for an up price, which, I mean, a lot of people do. But you're talking, not only are you looking at all these different furniture from all these different families, you're looking at all these different furniture from people who specifically died.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of shit going on in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because, like, one of the things I do remember from Ross, and this is going back to the app stuff, one leg peg or whatever, the one doll that she has there. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So Jen was holding that, and Jenny from Hillview or whatever was holding the other doll. I don't remember what the other doll's name was. But first off, we had a what the hell what's the thing called? Like the parrot rope going back between the two dolls. And it was lighting up, going back and forth between the two dolls as we're talking to them. But what came across the app is I have one leg, and like, that's like a whole phrase, and that's fucking weird that came across the thing when Jen was holding it.
And the doll only has one leg, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those circumstances that you say, well, okay, there's direct correlation here. That's not just random.
Another thing I remember too, which actually Matt was there, which Matt said something about Dick Shark on there. Me, him, and my daughter went down in the basement, and we played Jingle Bells. And we were singing Jingle Bells and that, and all the different lights were lighting up in the room. Like we had K2s over here, REM pods over here, all sorts of activity in the basement. So that's where music in general, like, there's been so many times I've used music, and it, like Ken knows, when we were at Wildwood, we played what the hell song was it? It was an Ozzy Osbourne song, and we played it up in the doctor's office, and like it was on alive, and everything was going off. Everything is like, there was a flashlight that turned on and off. K2 was going on and off. REM pod was going on and off. It was just wild because, like, we originally, I can't remember. I think we asked or something like what song you wanted to hear or something like that. If Ken's still on here, he could probably answer, but I forget what. Crazy Train.
I said that's a second Crazy Train because I remember watching that live that you guys did. Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy too. And like I said, there's been times when we were at Hillview, we played Amazing Grace in the chapel, and it sounded like somebody was crying next to me, like as the music was playing. Like, just, I'm sitting in one of the pews and someone's right next to me crying. What's that?
Music sparks feelings in people that are living. Obviously, you can listen to music that gets you amped up before a game. You can listen to music that helps you get through a dark time or a depression. You can listen to music that elevates your mind or, pushes it down in the dumps. Some music makes you feel violent and so forth. So it only makes sense that in the spiritual sense that music helps amplify and give stimulation of sorts to them as well. And I've used music also. But yeah, that is very interesting that you guys had a really good response at Wildwood. Wildwood's a weird place too. Strange happenstances. But Ryan just dropped on and he said The furniture store basement is interesting, and I will second that, Ryan. For those listening out there, in the basement of the antique,
that's where the Jingle Bells thing was going on, down in the furniture basement store.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's two basements to this place. There's the basement of the house and a basement of the antique store. And the basement of the antique store is a blocked up doorway that was a tunnel down to the river that was used during the abolition movement, almost like an underground railroad of sorts, where slaves would be transported through to try to escape. Now, what's interesting is we did a spirit box session, and Ken was there for that also. And we heard train whistles at one point, and we heard slave songs of sorts, like old slave songs being sang through the ghost box. So we got some really interesting responses coming from that. And then the other basement, the house basement, I had someone grab my hoodie and yank it so hard backwards that I almost fucking fell over. And I swung my hand backwards to smack someone because I thought someone was busting my chops a little bit. And when I swung my hand backwards, there was no one there. And I shined my light from my phone, and the three people I was with were in front of me. No one was behind me. But something yanked my sweatshirt. I literally felt the sweatshirt lift off my body like my shirt is right now. And it yanked me so hard that I fucking literally almost fell on my face. And that was interesting. And I mean, there hasn't been a lot that happened, but a really good ghost box answers, and then the shirt pull. So I think there's a potential of a lot. We discovered, and it's become very popular for the groups there, 2 years ago or whatever it was, we came across Tom. And talking about Tom, I'm going to throw up this Tom. Tom says nobody likes me. Well, that's because you're an asshole, Tom. We love
I got nothing for you, brother, for real.
So we came across Tom was there, and we got Tom, and we thought that it was talking about this Tom here. And then we realized it wasn't, and it was talking about a spirit named Tom. And we come to realize that Tom, if I'm thinking correctly, and my team can correct me if they're watching, that there was a gentleman that lived there at one point in time in the 80s. And he had a girlfriend. His girlfriend was fucking around with someone else. And he killed himself. Didn't tell if he killed himself in the home or what, but he was a resident of Bel Air. He lived in the Ross house. He had a girlfriend. She cheated on him. He killed himself. And he's there. And his name is Tom. And it was weird because when we told, what the hell's her name?
Cindy.
When we told Cindy about that, she's like, oh, thank you for that information. Well, I didn't see her really post anything about it. And then like the next 5 groups in a row that were there on the whiteboard started saying we came into contact with a Tom. There's a Tom here telling us this. And I'm like, I never seen Tom prior to that. But then all of a sudden, Tom made himself be known. So was Tom always there, or did Tom just, for some reason or another, show up? It was resident there, but for some reason, just boom, there he is. He's here now. Very strange.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of a cliche question, but I'm going to ask it just because I think it's good for our fans to know. Where would be your top couple places to go if you could? I mean, and I'm talking, it doesn't have to just be like known paranormal locations. It could be something that's obscure that you just think would be great to investigate at, like a cave, like we talked about.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
Different. I mean, I have a couple actually. If you want to just go off of like known locations, I always want to go to Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah.
Always wanted to go, like, you know, Dracula's castle, stuff like that. Pretty much the basic answers everybody says. But the thing that I would really like to do, which probably will never happen, and I don't even know if it would be possible, but I would love to go to like some type of like tribe back in the woods that, like, you know, human civilization really deals with, because, you know, they have a lot of superstitions and all that type of stuff, and I'd like to go to like some of those type of temples that are back that no one's gonna ever see. Like, that would be really cool, I think.
Some of the Amazonian rainforest tribes that don't come into contact with human beings, but they have shrines of skulls. And
I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, you have some of those Indian tribes out there that like have very interesting beliefs and really powerful connections with their spirits. And are cut off from humanity. So yeah, I mean, you're dealing with, and that brings a very interesting point, that if you went there, what spirits are you coming into contact with? Because if you hear, I'm Frank, well, why the fuck am I getting Frank right now? Because we're in an area that there was no Frank that ever existed, and there's no regular humanity. So is it just that they're traveling freely anywhere that they want to go, or are the spirits you're talking to coming from you? And I've talked about this with my group and in public a lot, that I think sometimes we're dealing with spirits of the land or of the ethereal plane that's around us. And I do sometimes believe that we're talking to the spirits either connected to us, attached to us, or that we were once in another life. And I have some weird things that make me think I've talked to other versions of myself over the years. So it makes you think, like ancestry. We think of ancestors like our grandma or grandpa, think like that. But your ancestry can also be all the yous that you've been.
Yeah.
And you're still going to carry fragments of that with you in each and every life. So Tom says Doll Island in Mexico. That'd be fucking creepy.
Yeah. I think Chernobyl would be awesome.
I know you mentioned that. I was waiting to hear if you'd say that, because I know you mentioned that a couple times before, just in talking. That Chernobyl. I think it would be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'd feel eerie still about the fucking radiation levels.
Well, that's even like, I mean, I don't know if it's haunted or not, but I would love to go explore the Six Flags in New Orleans, the abandoned amusement park. Yeah, I mean, cool. Obviously I love the supernatural, paranormal, all that shit, but even just like exploring like abandoned places like that, that'd be super cool.
Urbex is fun, man. I really liked it. To find the time to go out and explore all these abandoned places, plus the danger of it and the legality reasons of it. I don't do it because of the family and everything, but I love it.
So I can't be out running no cops.
You're not outrunning anybody. The problem is you have to worry, like, so one I really miss because I loved going to. I would have loved to take. Yeah, Alcatraz would be cool. One I would love to take would have loved to take to was Brownsville Hospital. That hospital was dope as fuck. It was haunted as shit.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
It was so sad to see them rip it down, because I had wild experiences there, and I only ever went by myself. But I mean, you're talking walking down the 3rd floor and a quarter of the building just being missing. And there's like a beam you walk across to get to the other part of it. And I'm like, one wrong move and you're dead.
Yeah.
So it kind of was exhilarating at the same time. But I mean, a lot of those things are fun.
Well, you've been to ISS before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did you go in the one doctor's house where it was like that, where the beam, you just had to walk across the beam?
I remember going into one of the houses and we climbed into the crawl space in the attic, which was fucking tough. We got to explore. There was like a bunch of chests up there, and I'm like, oh, since we're up here, I'm gonna peek around. So the house was cool. I really liked the tuberculosis hospital. That girl Destiny I mentioned, we had a really cool experience. We're on the 3rd floor of the insane asylum part. For like a good hour and 10 minutes, it played music through the REM pod, where it like played full blown like Mozart fucking, but like on video.
I think you might have told me that, yeah.
And then it fried my my REM pod, completely fried it at the end. I says, give me a finishing finale. I'm like, give me everything you got. What do you have? And it played this wild, wild tune, and then fried the entire fucking REM pod. I'm like, that's not what I meant, man. That's like $160.
You asked for it.
Yeah, I was only over there once, but that's a fucking haul to get over there. But that's a really cool place.
Yeah, we were one of their celebrity guests or whatever. What was it, 2 years ago? And we actually, it was really cool because we got to be there from Thursday through Sunday. Thursday was like, just like us and the other groups. And then Friday and Saturday we did Publix, and I've been there one other time too. And the other time I was actually there, Peggy, everybody knows Peggy. Peggy rented, yeah, for sure. Peggy rented the building originally, and she couldn't go, and she invited us. So it ended up being me, Troy, Phil, and Troy's daughter, and it was just us 4. And we had the whole place. That place is massive. So yeah, but ISS is really cool too. I always have a good time there.
Yeah, we're actually planning on going back this year. We want to do. it started out as like a 1 day, a 2 day, now a 3 day, and it's almost like it needs to be 4. But we're looking at doing Monroe House, Indiana State Sanatorium, and like I can't remember for the life of me right now. There was another one.
The jail? The jail's right by Monroe.
Licking County or something. Licking County Jail.
Blackford County, I think, isn't it?
Something like that.
It's like pretty much right across the street from Monroe.
So that's where it gets tricky, because I'm like, there's one there, there's Monroe, there is ISS, and then Sue and Ken have one for the group for this other place that they want a free admission to this other place in Indiana. Yeah. I'm like, well, we're not going to go back to Indiana again. So I'm like, we might have to do a 3 day, or I don't know about a 4 day, but might do 3 days, 3 locations back to Billy Creek is what Ken just said. So Billy Creek. Yeah. So it's like we might do ISS on Friday, for example, Monroe on Saturday, Billy Creek on Sunday, come home on Monday.
Have you been to Monroe?
I have not, and I keep everybody telling me about it. You need to be.
Monroe is one of my favorite locations.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to get out there, especially since it has the darker element to it, and I want to see what I kind of think of it and how I interact with it.
We had some crazy shit happen in Monroe. One of the things is we were down in the basement, and that's where, Mikey got his balls grabbed. I'm sure you've heard that story.
Ball grabber, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, when he was in the hole back there. But another thing that happened too that was kind of crazy is earlier in the night when we were ordering food, Mikey was like laughing or whatever, like we were cracking jokes or some bullshit. And as we were downstairs in the basement, we took holy water down there. We're like blessing the walls and stuff because they claim like that's one of the things. If you use holy water in there, like shit will happen. So we're using holy water, and across the spirit box, you hear Mikey laughing again. Like that was kind of crazy. Like mimicked him laughing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so that starts to make you think. Excuse me. That. And here I go with this Christian bullshit again, because I was about to say, when you work with things that are mimicking you and fucking with you a little bit, a lot of times that's a little bit more insidious type of spirits. I don't want to say demons, but and I know that there's supposed to be kind of a demon element there of some sort. I would be curious to see and interact with it. Something I've never experienced that I hear people talk about, I want to ask you about, is we said mimic, and people will call them mimics or doppelgangers. I've heard people talk about being at locations and seeing one of their team members walk down the hall past the doorway, and then you turn around and you're walking back through something, and then you run into that team member and you're like, I just fucking seen you down there. And they're like, I wasn't down there. What are you talking about? Has that ever happened to me? Has that ever happened to you?
Not happened to me personally, but I do know a couple stories off the top of my head, which one was with Blair from Grand Midway. I don't know if he told you that story or not, but he was up in the Shakespeare room, and at the time he was dating this girl, and the girl came in the room and talked to him. Later on in the night, he went downstairs and was talking to her about it. And she was like, I was never upstairs. I don't know what you're talking about. But then another time we did a home investigation with a friend of mine, and her son was saying that he was talking to his friend down in the basement. And later on that day, like he found out his friend was never there. Yeah. Jen was just talking about the mimic thing too. She just commented.
Okay, let me throw it up there. Tina from West Virginia Penitentiary was just talking about how the spirits there mimic and try to get the workers to go into the basement. And what's interesting about that, Jen, is shout out to you, Jen. Someone else was just talking to me about this and saying that they've had, and I can't remember what location it was, they've had it happen several times where there's a mimic there, where it literally takes the shape and form of one of your team members and fucks with your head. And I think that'd be awesome, to be honest with you. It's just never happened to me, and I'm really looking forward to it happening to me eventually. So
that's the whole doppelganger thing, though, too. If like you see your doppelganger is supposed to die, or even like the whole thing with Hillview with Jeffrey, like if you see Jeffrey, like it's an omen or something.
Jeffrey's interesting, man. I had. You were, and it was when you were still on Celestial Oddities team. We were all together.
Yeah.
I was with Luke and might have been Luke and Tom. I can't remember. It was Luke and someone. And we were in Jeffrey's room, and I don't know how to explain the EVP that I got, if you even want to call it an EVP. And I was like, are you here with us right now, Jeffrey? Can you give us some type of sign? I don't know how to explain it, man. The fucking room went. The fucking wall started making ticking sounds, like so loud that we heard it out loud, and I got it on recording. And I actually radioed down to you, and you're in this EVP or this recording, and I'm like, hey guys, where's all at? And you answer back, and you said, we're in the break room right now. I says, none of you are upstairs. No, none of us are upstairs. I says, are any of the guard people upstairs? No, they're all over in their office. I'm like, okay, over and out. I stuck that out. Like, what the fuck? But it was the craziest. I don't know. I don't know how to explain. You'd have to hear it. The sound in the recording is wild, is all I can say. It doesn't make sense of how it was made, what it was. Very wild, like 10 seconds of clicking coming from the walls, but all over the walls.
Yeah, another crazy thing we had happen in Jeffrey's room, which I'm sure Jen remembers this too, is the green ball thing, which we were talking, to Jeffrey, and we're like, what's your favorite toy or whatever in the room? And first it said green, and then later on it said ball. Like, I think it's on it was on like a TikTok or something like that, but that was kind of crazy in Jeffrey's room too.
I seen a ball move in his room once, sitting there, and one rolled like 2 or 3 feet while I was sitting there. And that time it was just me. There was no one with me. And it was actually a pretty quiet night at Hillview that time. But it rolled. That was the time. So I went down to George's boiler room, and it was a public, but I went and did it. And like, it was weird because it started at like 9. And by midnight, everyone left but me and these 2 chicks from Boston. And they like kind of became glued to me. Like, I didn't ask them to, but they were like, you care if we kind of like tag along with you? I'm like, sure, whatever. So we went down to George's room, and I was like, George likes raunchy jokes. And they're like, does he? And I'm like, yeah, he's a funny guy. I was like, so I told a couple really like dad jokes, real lame ass jokes, and nothing happened. And they were like, oh my God, these jokes are horrible. I says, well, I got a better one for you. I says, hey George, I says, what's got 2 thumbs and loves blowjobs? And it went silent. I went, this guy. As soon as the REM pod went off, the K2 meter started kicking, and the flashlight came on all in one fellow's swoop. And these 2 girls jumped. You hear them in the recording say, holy fuck. I was like, see, I told you this is my dude. It was just such a funny moment there that it was silent for like 40 minutes down there of nothing. And then I told one joke, and it just instantly, boom, 3 devices at one time.
We did something similar with Mary Aiello, the one upstairs with no eyes or whatever. We were telling her dirty jokes, and we had K2 spiking and stuff.
Yeah, I see. And what's weird is a lot of people get interaction with her. I don't think that I've ever actually got anything from her. I've tried.
See, I think that's the only time that we actually did. But that was, I think, Ken or somebody told us to tell her dirty jokes, and that's how we, like, my buddy Crack. I think you met Crack before. I don't know. He came on a couple things with us. I've known him since like 1st grade. He actually used to rap with me. He was in my group with me. But he came and was telling these dirty jokes, and yeah, like the K2 was lighting up and everything.
Okay. Yeah, see, maybe that's what I need to do. If I ever return back to Hillview, I'll have to try, because I tried several times sitting up there, and I just never got anything from her room. But Jeffrey, I have. Angelo, I have. George, I have. Eli, I have. Guy on the nurse hallway, I definitely have. Bill. And then some of the other areas. But yeah, I never could get anything from her. You guys made me do my solo in Jeffrey's room. Yeah, you did do a solo. And Jen had said, and I didn't get a chance to read it, it says, Blair from Grand Midway said the same thing happened with him and his daughter's mother when they were
that's the thing I was talking about.
That's what Sean was talking about. Okay, so something was physically appearing. Yeah, it's never happened. I've had a lot of very strange interactions. I've never seen a team, but then again, how would I know? I might have seen one and just not told the other team member. I don't know. I do know that when we were all together at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, that Mikey B and I went to the 3rd floor of the insane asylum, and there was no wooden floors, and we walked everywhere. And
yeah, I remember you guys talking about this. Yeah.
still trips me the fuck out to this day that I'm like, they told us that the third floor has the wooden floors. That's how you know you're on the third floor. That's how you know. And we walked everywhere on the floor looking for wooden floors. We went to a stairwell and it didn't go up any further. So I'm like, we're on the third floor, but there's no wooden floors. And then we came down and told all you guys. And then later in the night when we met up again, you guys showed us pictures that we were on the third floor and there's wooden floors everywhere. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Well, that was the whole reason why the documentary was called that discombobulated in the dark, because of the just getting lost and not know where the hell you are. And
I've been back there 2 more times since then, running it out, and the same thing happened every time. Not with the floors, just with things shifting. I would go down a hallway. I know I came directly out of a door straight down the hallway. I didn't take any turns, didn't go into any rooms. I'd be at the end of the hallway. I would turn around and shine the light to start to walk back, and the door wouldn't be there. It'd be a blank wall. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I would find the door through one of the patient's rooms in a closet that would lead to another hallway, and there was the door I came through. And I'm like, I never walked through a room. And obviously I did, but I'm like, it's doing something to my mind. I'm like, I've never had a place that made my mind feel like that. It was doing something to me.
See, I'm pretty good with that type of stuff usually. Like I can walk through something once and I know where I am. But yeah, that place is definitely confusing. Like it's just very disorienting in general.
That's one of my favorite places. We seen a green orb fly out of the hall floor and literally like basketball size, went up in front of us, sat in front of us for a moment in the air while we stared at it. It lit up the whole hallway, and then it went up into the ceiling and left. And I'm like, what the I mean, it was one of the coolest moments of my life. And then upstairs, one of the lights in the hallway lit up while we were up there and started glowing so bright it was blinding. And then it went away. And when we went and talked to the lady that worked there, who actually just recently passed away, I seen on the Tala Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum page. She was the lady who was there every time I ever rented it. She was the person that showed us the tour. She just passed, rest in peace. I said to her about that happening, and she says, oh, wow. And I says, what? She says, well, 2 things. There hasn't been electric up there since like 1967. She's like, and there was someone else who told us that exact same thing. She says roughly 12 years ago. I says, it's never happened to anybody else since. She says, not anybody that's told us about it. She says, but about 11, 12 years ago, someone told us that exact same thing in the exact same part of the building. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I'm like, 12-year timer. I just happened to be there. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's 2 things that I mean, we all had experiences at Trans-Allegheny that time, but the 2 main things I remember was with Lily, which I've had experiences with Lily more than once, because the first time I was ever there, back like when my daughter, my daughter's gonna be 21 in October. She was probably about 6 at the time. We went to go do the haunted house and did the little walkthrough thing or whatever. And we're in Lily's room. And they used to put the ball in the middle of the room, and they used to tell, Lily, if there's anybody in the room you want to play with, roll the ball to them. Nadia was the only kid in the group, and the ball rolled straight to Nadia. So that happened at that time. But like I said, down the line when we were there for that investigation, me and Jen were in there, and I mean, this is on video. You've seen it or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. We were talking to Lily, and first off, she was using the flashlight, turn it on and off. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but you see on the video, you see an orb like go into the REM pod. The REM pod started lighting up, and I
remember that. You guys showed
like that was all the stuff with Lily. And then the other thing I remember, which was up in the bedpost murder room, which I have actually an interesting story about that too, more than just the actual thing that happened that night. When we were up there, and this goes back to the music thing. We were up there in the room, and first off, that room, I mean, that it just feels off in general. Like as soon as you walk in that room, like it feels like someone's watching you or something. Like I remember taking like 100 pictures in that room. But anyway, so we're in there, and we're talking and everything, and the guy, we're like, oh, Jen was like, do you want us to play Johnny Cash or something like this and this and that, and I was like, well, the guy died in the 80s. I was like, we should start naming some like 80s people. And I named Madonna. and the REM pod went off. And actually, in the video, which you've seen, like, you see something crawling towards the REM pod, and they say that that guy that got murdered in there used to crawl across the floor, which, you know, we didn't see that at the time. We saw it on the video. But another thing that's interesting about that is we were doing Hearst Mania there several years later, and the lady who was the vendor across from us took care of the guy that murdered him, because he got moved up to the other, you know, there's the other asylum up on the hill. She took care of him after, like, I don't think he's alive now, but, you know, back in those days, he was still alive. And, you know, she said he was like the sweetest guy ever and this and that. And that's the guy that killed the guy in the other place. But I thought that was interesting.
Insanity, man. You know, he snapped, he killed him, and then he went back to his docile state. You know, that's what's terrifying about someone who's just clinically, absolutely, violently insane. Is he might be the sweetest person 364 days a year. You know what I mean? It only takes that one. Yeah, that room's fucked up, man. There's definitely an odd feeling of that. And then right outside there's those prison cell doors, which give you a weird ass vibe too. That whole little section right there is just off.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was interesting is in the bedpost murder room. I don't remember who I was with. I remember getting amazing evidence. We had several amazing answers on the ghost box, and then I turned off the ghost box as normal. Didn't listen to evidence for a couple days. Went back, started listening through, and couldn't find it. I kept flipping through it, and I'm like, "Where is it? Gone." The entire track of the room is just gone. It wasn't there. And I'm like, well, motherfucker. Because all I did was, when I was done with the stop button, hit the off button, shut it off. It's just gone. Doesn't make sense that it vanished. It was like a 20-minute clip. But that's actually not the only time that's happened to me. That have just vanished from.
I've had that happen with digital recorders before, yeah.
It's strange. That's why it's like almost be advantageous to go back to old school tape recorders. That's a that I'm not trying to get to. I know some people believe that the tape recorders actually catch better evidence.
We tried that in Anchorage, remember? I had that little mini recorder, but I didn't really get anything on it.
I don't know if I think that there could be some validity to that, but I mean, I don't think they would do that much more on tape than it would digital. I don't know. It's one of those questions I have wondered about over time. Like, is there a resonance to tape being more of a capture? It picks up a different frequency. What's interesting about my recorder, which is just retarded, because I bought that crazy fucking recorder, you can like set the noise suppression on it. And what I mean is you can put how low of decibels or how high of decibel range you want to capture. So I can filter out decibels below a certain range so that it doesn't muddy my recorder, or above a certain range to capture a specific wavelength of sound. Now, I haven't done that too much to my advantage. I just set it kind of wide to try to catch everything. But it's interesting that you can set it specifically to low, but it's so sensitive that like I can hear things like 5 rooms away. And that makes it hard sometimes. That's an advantage because you might capture something down the hall. But it's a disadvantage because I don't know what I'm hearing that could be raindrops or paint falling off of a wall 4 rooms away. And I could hear crickets fucking down the block. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And that's why I like someone else on the team has a recorder. I'm like, you go ahead and record. I'll use mine sparingly. But another one I would tell you guys to go to if you ever get the chance. I found it to be amazing, but I would tell you better fucking get in some leg days at the gym. Is St. Albans Sanatorium.
Okay, I've never been there before either.
Phenomenal. I found it to be fucking just amazing. But there's 28 sets of stairs. And all you do the whole time you're there is like walk up a stairwell, walk 10 feet down the hall, walk down a stairwell, walk 20 feet, walk back up a stairwell. I don't know who made the building. They had to have been on some really good shit. It doesn't make any human sense at all. I mean, you'll walk up.
Is the building big?
What's that?
Is the building big?
It's pretty big. It's not a Trans-Allegheny big. It's like a Hillview big. It's confusing as shit though. You'll get lost as fuck, like Trans-Allegheny. That's the only other building that I felt discombobulated as fuck. I didn't know where I was. I kept getting lost. I kept walking down hallways and found myself in empty rooms, and I'm like, how do I get out of here? I couldn't find my way out. But it's got an immense amount of spirits there, and just a really cool place, really cool staff.
Where's that at? Ohio or?
No, it's in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was like a 7 drive.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to check that place out. I've heard stories about it. Have you been to? Everybody's always talking about my calves. Have you ever been to Ohio State Reformatory?
No, I haven't. It's one of the places I wanted to get on my bucket list. It hasn't happened. I've been to Moundsville. I haven't been to Ohio State Reformatory though.
That's definitely a place. A lot of steps and a massive building. Like the first, like we've always done Parapsychon, and this past year we actually were their media people. We're going to be their media people this upcoming year too. But the first couple years I was there, I didn't even know half the building existed. Like I actually went on the little museum tour and everything the one day and like found out like there's so much more to that. But that building, like there's an actual chapel upstairs and you can go into the attic and like, I don't know, it's crazy. We actually, when we were there this past thing for the media, Violent J was there, which, you know, I'm a juggalo. Yeah. We took some of his people, like he wouldn't go. I asked him to go, but he wouldn't go. But like some of his crew, I forget, Wacko the Kid was like one of the rappers that has to do with him. We took him and like his crew up into the attic, and like Jen and who was it, Ryan, I think, they were all doing an Estes and they were all freaking out and everything. Like it was great. And they shared it to all their social things too, so that was pretty cool too, you know. Oh, yeah, but even like when me and Mikey were down in the solitary thing later on, and me, Mikey, and Randall was filming, which I got to get that footage off of Randall. But like they came down and were hanging out with us too, and like, I mean, to see somebody, I mean, you know how it is, like to see somebody that's not involved with it and how easily they get freaked out, like, I don't know, it just makes it even better. Like it was funny.
It's cool. I like those moments where I would get people that, because there for a while, a couple of years ago, before I kind of reformed the team and I was just doing my solo shit, I would have people. I had people flying from Texas, people flying from California. Destiny, before she was on the team, was coming from Iowa. It was like an honor that these people were like, we want to come, we'll fly in from fucking Cali to investigate with you. And I'm like, cool, all right. But to see their faces when something mind-bending would happen, and they're like, holy shit, this is fucking real. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's real. That's why we do it. You know, it's a really cool feeling, you know, to experience. No, I definitely need to get to Ohio State Reformatory. I thought about that being one of our ones for next year. I was going to do the Conjuring House, but then I heard that lady's fucking batshit crazy, and I've seen all the stuff lately. So I'm like, yeah I'm going to back for that. I don't need that. Same reason I didn't do Rolling Hills in New York. I really wanted to for years.
Heard them stories too, dude.
I'm not fucking with any crap. I'm not driving hours and hours and hours to get cock blocked by some crazy bitch. It just isn't happening.
Yeah, you can't even like, I don't even think you can bring equipment in her place anymore or something is what I heard. I know it was a Caitlin or something was telling me she's been there, and she had to like check all your stuff and like just all sorts of ridiculous.
Well, I heard kicked a couple different teams out, kicking them out, accusing them of smelling like alcohol. So after you get there, she's like, you reek of alcohol, you got to leave. And they're like, we weren't drinking. You got to leave. I can smell it on you. You need to go. And they're like, well, we already paid. Well, you broke contract and you need to go now. So it was like a pocket grab. Like, let's just kick you out and say, I'm keeping you. I'm like, nah, bitch, I'll burn this place down. It's going down tonight. You kick me out, fucker. Joking, folks. No one needs to press any charges. Tom said, I liked Blennerhassett Island other than the creepy maintenance guy. So I have to touch base on this because there needs to be a little bit of backstory. Have you been to Blennerhassett yet?
The island? No, I haven't. But I think Troy won an investigation there. So we're supposed to go there, but I haven't been there yet now.
So they do publics throughout the year, but they only do one private a year, which is wild. Only one. And we were the team last year that did it. And it was really cool. After we set up all of our tents and we're going to sleep, or not going to sleep, but set up our tents for sleep, they told us that they had us set up our tents directly on top of Indian burial ground. We're like, oh, well, thank you for telling us now. And the mansion's cool. The island's wild because what's cool about that is that there's like two people that come to like oversee it, but they stay away from you and just do their own thing, right? And they're the same girls that work at Anchorage Mansion. I know them.
Yeah, like what's the name of that?
Yeah, yeah. So they stayed there and they were real chill. But you can walk the island throughout the night and it's like a couple miles long, pretty much. So like you go down into the woods and you're in the dead fucking forest with a trail and you're just walking through this trail that's surrounded 360 degrees by water and no one's there except your team, these two ladies, and this crazy fucking caretaker that creeps us the way out. And when I say that, like, he gave me straight up serial killer vibes. Now that I say that, he's probably been stalking my shit since, so I probably can never return back because he's going to be waiting for me now.
Like a creepy old guy from Scooby Doo or some shit.
Oh, dude, it was. He walked out and we seen him and we're looking at him and he just gives a weird fucking creep vibe. And he first looked at Natasha and I fucked her so hard that it was crazy, like up and down from ankles to head. And then he like must have realized he was. Then he turned his gaze and he seen me over there. Now there's a bunch of members of our team, but he looked at her.
Yeah, I fuck you.
No, and then he looked at me and he had a rage in his eyes where he like literally looked at me like, I'll kill you in your sleep. That was the look he gave. And I was kind of like, what the fuck? And then he like acted all normal after, but the whole entire team seen it and felt it. And after like he walked away, everybody's like, I'm so weirded out right now. And I'm like, I didn't imagine that, right? They're like, no, that was super fucking creepy. And then they're like, well, we're going to sleep on the island tonight with this guy over in his care house. And he lives in the forest in a little cabin house that glows in the middle of the forest in the middle of the night. You just see like, you know, Scooby-Doo shit. And
yeah,
it was that it added to the suspense that like there might be ghosts here or we might die. But I advised to definitely.
He live there like all year long, or
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about the guys. They said that he is the caretaker there all year long. No, in the winter months in West Virginia, they stop going out there. So there's like a 3.5 to 4 month period of year that no one goes to the island, and it's him 100% by himself on the island.
oh wow.
And they brought that up, and he's like, I really like being out here all by myself. I'm like, yeah, because no one hears your victim screaming, bro. You get it. Like, you're fucking weird. But no, that's a cool place. I definitely suggest trying to go there if you get a chance.
Yeah.
But other than that, I guess I would ask at this point, as we're nearing the end of the show, you know, anything else that you want to tell the folks that we should watch out for? Anything we need to be aware of? Any last thoughts?
Like I said, we have that convention this weekend in Johnstown. It's the WPA Cryptid and Supernatural Expo. We're speaking at 6:00 on both days. We have that thing with the Mind coming up, which is out in Toronto, October 19th, 20th. We're supposed to be doing a public at College Hill November 2nd. I don't know if that's still happening or not. Trying to think what else. I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I can't remember what. Like, I have everything written.
It's hard to remember it all.
Yeah.
I hear you, trust me.
Yeah, I write everything down on my phone because I don't remember half the shit that's going on.
I have three.
I'm going to be on 2 other podcasts coming up too. Actually, Jen's podcast, which I think is, I don't remember which date's which. It's either October 9th or 10th, and then Spooky Japan, which I've been on them before too. I'm be on theirs either the 10th or the 9th coming up. Other than that, I can't really think what else going on.
Well, folks, if you're around on either of the dates of the events that are coming up, if you're available the nights of the podcast, make sure you check out the events, check out the shows, support, give a like, share, follow, and subscribe buttons on them. All great content. And I guess the last thing I would say, since we're mentioning that, where can folks find you guys as a group online?
I mean, we're pretty much on everything. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads. We've been trying to push our YouTube more than anything recently because we've been trying to do more longer documentaries than that. Like I said, we have one coming out about the Masonic Temple. We just released a video on Harold's Haunts, which is actually going to be featured for the Pittsburgh City paper too, for their online thing. Because they're doing something about like local haunts or whatever. Trying to think. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm sure there'll be other YouTube stuff coming out because we have tons of footage. We even have footage from probably back like in the Celestial Oddities days that like we never released, you know?
Sure, yeah. It's hard to get through all of it, man. You know what I mean? Like I look at my folder, even here on the computer I'm on now. There's just folders and folders of evidence, and I'm like, but we don't even really do a whole lot with it anymore. I'm like, there's so much evidence that's there. It's just finding the time to go through it is just, I don't know if and when that'll ever happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's even like by doing music, like there's so much music I've done over the years that no one's even heard because I never released it. I have so much shit on the computer that I just never put it out, you know? But like one other thing I think too is Mikey's supposed to be releasing the antique store that he did. It's kind of like a dual location. We were at ISS. That was the time I was talking about when it was me, Troy, and Phil, and that. Which this was a couple of years ago, but we were there that night, and he was at the antique store, and we did like a dual location. We did like an Estes from each one and everything. That's supposed to be released at some point too, I think.
Okay, yeah, I remember you guys talking about that experience. That's a pretty cool experiment to try out.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, guys and gals out there listening, you heard it. Make sure you like the Bump in the Night Society group page, Facebook page, X page, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Pornhub, all of it. Get it in. Get your links liked and followed, and support these guys and everything that they do. Make sure you like, share, and follow this show. And we appreciate all the listeners out there. Tammy, thank you. Great job. I'm off to bed. Have a good night. You are as well. Sean, as always, brother, much love to you. Thank you for coming on the show. And
thanks for having me on, brother. For real.
Absolutely. No. And if you're listening out there and you're interested, we have another interview next week. We will be bringing on Natasha Michelle. She is the front woman for the Butler metal band Animus. She is the owner and operator of the brick and mortar shop, Little Shop of Lilith, co-cult leader with me in the coterie of Samil, and a member of Celestial Oddities Paraseekers. So got our hands in a lot of different pots. So be another great interview. Make sure you share this one around, and everybody have a wonderful and safe night. And this is